Today, we live in a world full of quick promises. Get rich in 7 days. Earn without effort. Achieve everything now. But Solomon said the opposite. True growth is slow, steady, and solid. Forget everything you've heard about success, happiness, or inner peace. What if I told you that the secrets to a truly fulfilling life, one that is stable, prosperous, and full of purpose, were written over 2,500 years ago, and you may have passed right by them without realizing it? These secrets are hidden in plain sight, in an ancient book, written by the wisest man who ever lived, King Solomon. For centuries, kings, scholars, and leaders have sought to understand the deeper meaning behind Solomon's simple yet powerful words in the book of Proverbs, words that still echo with truth and wisdom today. Words about choices, relationships, prosperity, self-control, and the kind of wisdom that completely transforms the way we live. But there's a problem: most people have forgotten that power. They look for answers on social media, in self-help books, in quick success promises, while ignoring one of the most profound guides ever written on how to live well. In this video, we're going to rediscover that forgotten power. You'll understand why Solomon's Proverbs aren't just old sayings, they're living, practical, and surprisingly modern principles. We'll uncover a timeless wisdom. One that can change how you see money, people, work, and yourself. And by the end of this video, you won't just know Solomon's words. You'll know how to live them, today, to live better, think clearer, and find peace even in difficult times. But, who was this man? Who was the human being so wise that his words still feel tailor-made for the challenges of the 21st century? His name was Solomon, son of King David, heir to an empire, and chosen by God to lead the people of Israel. But here's what's fascinating: when Solomon had the chance to ask for anything, power, fame, wealth, victory over his enemies, he asked for something entirely different. He looked up to heaven and said, "Lord, give your servant a wise and understanding heart, to govern your people with justice." And God replied, "Because you have not asked for wealth or long life, but for wisdom, I will give you wisdom like no one before or after you, and along with it, everything you did not ask for." From that moment on, something extraordinary happened. Solomon became the wisest man who ever lived. Leaders, queens, and kings traveled for weeks, even months, just to hear him speak, and left transformed by his words. The Queen of Sheba, after meeting Solomon, was left breathless. She said, "What I heard about your wisdom wasn't even half the truth." Imagine that, someone so wise his mind seemed divine. And that same wisdom, written in the pages of Proverbs, has reached us today. Words that outlasted empires, wars, and entire ages of change. Words that still have the power to reshape the way you live, work, and love. And what's most amazing, this power isn't hidden. It's right in front of you, waiting for someone to pause, read, and apply it. Get ready, what comes next may open your eyes to a new way of seeing the world, a wiser, more balanced, and more fulfilling way. When we read Solomon's Proverbs, it's easy to think we're just reading ancient sayings, beautiful lines written long ago. But few realize that these texts are actually a practical life manual. Solomon didn't speak only about faith, he spoke about decisions, work, relationships, emotions, and finances. The very same things that shape your life today. It's as if, somehow, he foresaw the modern world. A world full of hurry, distractions, and countless voices fighting for our attention. And in the middle of all that noise, Proverbs whispers a simple but powerful truth. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore, get wisdom. Proverbs 4 verse 7. Think about that. The wisest man in history, who had wealth, power, and knowledge beyond imagination, said the most important thing in life isn't money or success, it's wisdom. Why? Because wisdom is the map. It shows you the way when the world around you seems lost. And once you have it, everything changes. You start seeing danger before it destroys you. You know when to speak, and when to stay silent. You recognize who should walk beside you, and who needs to leave. That's what Solomon meant in Proverbs 27 verse 12. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the price. Look around, how many people live on autopilot, making the same mistakes, trusting the wrong people, spending what they don't have, wasting time on what doesn't matter. That's all lack of wisdom. And this is where Solomon's forgotten power becomes real. Because when you understand and apply these principles, your life changes from the inside out. Chaos starts to make sense. Decisions become clearer. Anxiety fades. And peace takes the place of confusion. That's why I invite you now to go beyond the words. To dive with me into Solomon's most practical teachings. His advice on prosperity, work, relationships, and self-control. To discover how this ancient wisdom fits perfectly into our modern world. And before we move on to Solomon's lessons on prosperity and prudence, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, so you don't miss more videos filled with messages and timeless teachings like this one. Now that we understand the power of Solomon's wisdom, it's impossible not to notice something interesting. The wisest man in history was also one of the most prosperous. But his prosperity didn't come from luck or tricks, it came from principles. And these same principles, when applied today, still have the power to completely transform your financial, professional, and even emotional life. Solomon understood something many people forget: money is not the goal, it's a consequence of wisdom. He wrote in Proverbs 8 verse 18. With me are riches and honor, enduring wealth and righteousness. Notice, he wasn't promising quick riches. He was teaching sustainable prosperity, built on wisdom, prudence, and character. And it all begins with one simple but revolutionary principle: prudence. Proverbs 21 verse 20 says, in the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. How many people live exactly like that today? They work hard, yet always feel something is missing. Money comes in, and vanishes. Solomon would say, it's not about how much you earn, it's about what you do with what you have. He calls us to be prudent, to manage, to plan, to think ahead. Another powerful principle appears in Proverbs 13 verse 11. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Centuries before the digital age, Solomon already knew. Haste and impatience are enemies of true prosperity. Today, we live in a world full of fast promises. Get rich in a week. Earn without effort. Achieve everything now. But Solomon said the opposite. True growth is slow, steady, and solid. It's the growth that comes from diligence. He wrote, do you see a man skilled in his work? He will stand before kings, he will not stand before obscure men. Proverbs 22 verse 29. In other words, whoever does what they do with excellence, purpose, and commitment, always stands out. This applies to the entrepreneur, the artist, the student, the parent, everyone. Because diligence is wisdom in action. And when diligence joins integrity, it creates a prosperity that time cannot destroy. That's why Solomon also warned about honesty in business. Dishonest scales are an abomination to the Lord, but accurate weights are his delight. Proverbs 11 verse 1. Integrity, even when no one is watching, is the foundation of trust. And trust is the greatest asset anyone can have. In a world where appearance often matters more than character, Solomon reminds us that true wealth is being trustworthy. And he goes even further, he speaks of generosity. One person gives freely, yet gains even more, another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. Proverbs 11 verse 24. This is the paradox of wisdom. The more you give, the more you receive. Because prosperity, in the end, isn't about what comes in, it's about what overflows. It's about impact. It's when what you have begins to bless not only you, but also those around you. And that's where Solomon's wisdom connects directly with our modern world. Because true success, the kind that doesn't depend on the market, luck, or algorithms, comes from practicing these eternal principles: prudence, diligence, integrity, and generosity. And now, let's go even deeper. Because Solomon didn't just speak about work and wealth. He also revealed the secret to something money can never buy: genuine relationships. You can have wisdom. You can have wealth. You can even have success. But if your relationships are broken, your heart will still feel empty. That's why Solomon devoted a large part of Proverbs to something few people value: the art of relationships. He knew that true wisdom is also emotional. That understanding others, and yourself, is one of the greatest signs of spiritual and personal maturity. And if there's one word that defines our modern world, it's confusion, especially in relationships. Relationships that start fast and end even faster. Shallow friendships. Digital connections, but distant hearts. And in the middle of all that, Solomon's voice echoes like a timeless reminder. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Proverbs 17 verse 17. He wasn't talking about convenience, he was talking about constancy. A true friend doesn't just show up for the celebrations. They stay when everything falls apart. And if you think about it, one of the biggest sources of pain today comes from this. Trusting the wrong people, giving yourself to those who don't value it, surrounding yourself with those who pull you down. That's why Solomon also warned. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Proverbs 13 verse 20. This is one of the most powerful, and most ignored, truths of modern life. The people you surround yourself with shape your future. If you want to grow, stay close to those who inspire you. If you want peace, be near those who bring calm, not chaos. Because in the end, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And Solomon knew that over 2,000 years ago. But he goes even deeper. He speaks about the power of words in relationships. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Proverbs 18 verse 21. Think about it, how many times has a word changed your entire day? A single criticism destroyed your motivation. A kind word rekindled your strength. Words are seeds. Every sentence you speak has the power to heal or wound, build or destroy. Solomon teaches that wisdom isn't just knowing what to say. It's knowing when to stay silent. Even fools are thought wise if they keep silent. Proverbs 17 verse 28. And here's a secret few understand. True intelligence isn't about winning arguments. It's about preserving connections. And maybe, if more people practiced that wisdom, many marriages, friendships, and families would be stronger today. Solomon also speaks of humility. And that's essential in every relationship. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16 verse 18. Pride destroys what love builds. How many times have we let ego speak louder than our heart? How many times have we chosen to be right instead of being at peace? Solomon shows us that humility isn't weakness, it's controlled strength. That's why the wisest relationships are guided by empathy, listening, and forgiveness. And notice how everything connects. The wisdom that brings prosperity also brings peace. The wisdom that creates success also creates meaningful connections. It's all a cycle, and it all starts within you. Because when you learn to relate with wisdom, the world around you changes. And that's where we reach the deepest part of this message. Self-discipline and self-control. Because none of this, prosperity, wisdom, relationships, truly works if you can't master the greatest battlefield of all, your own mind and emotions. If you thought that wisdom, prosperity, and good relationships were enough for a fulfilling life, think again. There's a quiet power that governs everything, and within it lies true transformation. Mastery over yourself. Solomon wrote in Proverbs 16 verse 32. Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. Think about that. Conquering others is impressive, but conquering yourself makes you unstoppable. In a world of instant gratification, distractions, and external pressure, mastering your mind and emotions is like holding the key to your destiny. Self-control allows you to make wise decisions under pressure. Avoid unnecessary conflicts. Manage your time, energy, and resources intelligently. And discipline is the fuel that keeps that power alive every day. Solomon shows us that small, consistent actions create extraordinary results. A daily habit of study or reflection sharpens the mind. Small savings turn into financial security. Carefully chosen words strengthen relationships. It all starts internally, in your heart and your mind. Imagine a life where you control your reactions, your thoughts, your habits. Where you're not manipulated by anxiety, impulses, or other people's opinions. That's the forgotten power of Solomon that few ever apply. To master the world within before trying to control the world around. And when you combine that with wisdom, prosperity, and healthy relationships, something extraordinary happens. Your life becomes steady in results, yet rich in peace and purpose. If you've made it this far, you've seen something remarkable. You've rediscovered the forgotten power of Solomon's Proverbs. You've seen how wisdom can guide your decisions in the modern world. You've learned principles of prosperity, discipline, self-control, and emotional intelligence. But none of it becomes real until you act. Solomon didn't leave us beautiful words just to read. He left us maps for action, clear instructions on how to live better, starting today. Think for a moment. Every choice you make, every habit you keep, every word you speak, moves you either toward a full life or toward frustration. And here's the truth most people miss. The power to transform your life doesn't depend on luck or external circumstances. It depends on you. Start now. Choose one proverb. Reflect on it daily. Apply it to your decisions, your words, and your relationships. Make small, consistent changes. Organize your time with wisdom. Invest in your inner peace. Surround yourself with people who add value to your life. Cultivate discipline and self-control, even amid the distractions of the modern world. Over time, you'll see the cumulative effect. More clarity, more real prosperity, healthier relationships, more peace, a truly fulfilling life. And the most amazing thing is, you don't have to wait. The forgotten power of Solomon is available right now, in this very moment, to anyone who chooses to act. So let this be your turning point. Let ancient wisdom guide your steps, turning every challenge into an opportunity, every choice into a lesson, every day into progress. Because living better isn't a distant dream. It's something you can begin today. If this message touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the channel and continue this journey, a journey of wisdom, purpose, and transformation, guided by the eternal teachings of Solomon. Remember, the forgotten power is no longer hidden. It's in your hands. And the life you've always desired can begin right now. If you've followed every step of this journey, you now understand something extraordinary. The same wisdom that shaped history, guided kings, and transformed lives thousands of years ago is still alive, and just as powerful, today, in the world of 2025. What Solomon wrote in Proverbs isn't just theory or ancient philosophy. It's a practical, living guide, ready to transform your choices, your relationships, your finances, and your mind. But here's the key difference between those who simply listen and those who transform: action. Choose to apply one principle, today. One small change, one reflected proverb, one conscious decision, and you'll begin to feel the ripple effect of this ancient wisdom. Remember, the forgotten power of Solomon is no longer hidden. It's in your hands. And the fulfilling life you desire can start now. So here's your final challenge. Choose a proverb. Meditate on it. Apply it in your daily life. Share this video with someone who also needs to discover this power. Subscribe, and continue this journey of wisdom and transformation. Because living better isn't a faraway dream. It's a choice you can make today. Start now. The forgotten power of Solomon is waiting for you. And your life will never be the same again.